Mr. Diaz, that's a pretty dramatic story that you put her on her knees and pointed the gun to her head. That's a dramatic story, Mr. Diaz.
I understand, Mr. Rodriguez.
Why would she make up such a story like that? You were married for 42 years.
47.
Why would she say that kind of a story? I don't understand.
Mr. Rodriguez, I am, as astonished as you. I do not know why she go and said that. I guess that she wanted me out of the house for some reason or whatever reason. But I can tell you, that I never aimed this gun to her head, and she was kneeling. Never, 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 never.
And we are about to watch the parole hearing for Connecticut man who not only put his wife on her knees and threatened to kill her using a firearm, but he discharged that firearm 2 times. Now he shows up to his parole hearing denying that he ever did the crime that he is locked up for. The excuses that he gives for his firearm magically discharging border on insane. It's actually kind of funny. Now, would you think that a parole board would possibly release a man who denies why he is in prison, who doesn't take any accountability for his crime, who blames his ex-wife, the victim, on making up the story? Well, we will hear from the victim, and we will unpack this hearing at the end of the shocking results. And with that, let's jump in.
First name is Wilfredo. Middle name Efrain. Last name Diaz. D-I-A-Z in zero.
And your inmate number, please, Mr. Diaz?
440371.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The offender is serving 5 years, executed suspended after 42 months, followed by 5 years probation for threatening first, reckless endangerment first, unlawful restraint first, 2 counts of illegal discharge of a firearm, and disorderly conduct. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of May 20th, 2025. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed the domestic violence program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Diaz, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Thank you. You want me to answer that?
So it's your opportunity to say
Yeah.
why you should be granted parole today.
Not a problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am a different person now since 2022 when this happened. I have taken the domestic violence program and identify some triggers, that might lead to domestic violence. I also take my medications on time, and I've been good standing here with no tickets whatsoever in the only time that I've been here since 2022.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Diaz?
Well, I have to say also that I am very sorry for the crime that I committed, to my wife especially, and also for my 2 sons. I know that if I had knowing first those triggers that like drinking, like fighting, and disrespect for your partner, that if I knew that before, I wouldn't be here today.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. So we will be asking you questions this morning, and after our questioning, we will deliberate and give you our decision.
Thank you.
We also have input from the Office of Victim Services this morning.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Rodriguez will begin with questions this morning.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Diaz.
Yes, same.
Yeah. I just want to talk a little bit about, you were a gun owner, correct?
Say again, I'm sorry?
You were a permanent gun owner. You had a permit for your gun?
Yes, exactly, yes.
So you took gun training.
Correct.
So, let me ask first, you said you were sorry for the crime you committed. Does that mean you're accepting responsibility for how the crime was put on your report?
Well, part of
That you
it,
made your wife kneel down, you put a gun to her head, that,
yeah, I
because you also
understand.
said that you accidentally fired the weapon.
Correct. You know, I understand your question, but I have to disagree on whatever my wife said regarding aiming the gun to her head. I never did that. I never.
So explain to me what you're saying you're sorry for.
Well, I'm sorry because, you know, I started this episode of fighting in the house, you know, and I should make a better decision, you know, just to walk away and to not get, you know, these things to escalate during that day that it happens. But under no circumstances I aimed that gun to her, not at all. I've been a gun owner since 1989, and I never had a problem with gun before, not at all.
I realize that you were a trained gunner, so I'm surprised that the gun went off not once, but twice.
Yes.
And for someone who's been trained with a weapon, and I know the training typically is very, very extensive, and they teach you how to put it on safety, and they teach you all those things. How that could have happened?
Yeah,
by accident. Can you explain that?
Exactly. You know what happened is that I had the gun in the night table in one of the bedrooms on the house, not the main bedroom. In one of the bedrooms.
We read that in the report.
Okay, and I wanted to watch the New York Mets baseball game that night. Okay, I got my gun during the day with me because I wanted to go at the first in the morning to the shooting range. That was the plan that I have for that Friday, if I'm not mistaken. It was Friday. And then my wife called me and said that I need to do some chores in town for her, which I did. By the time I finished everything, it was almost lunchtime, and I went back home. I started working with my cars, and I put my gun in one of the bedrooms of the house in the night table. Now,
with the safety on or off?
No, that's my next point. This is a gun that I purchased, and I never used it before. Prior to this gun, I had 2 revolvers. You know, I sold them eventually to the gun dealers, and then what happened is that this gun was a semi-automatic gun, and I wasn't sure, you know, how it operates. You know, when you cock the thing, that one of the bullets goes inside, and you don't see it, but it's there. Okay, so when I was arguing with my wife, and I wanted to retire, you know, to my bedroom, because she said, you know, okay, you know, this argument is going to be over soon. You know, I grabbed the gun from the night table that I had it. It was a small, you know, drawer, and when I took it with the trigger, and it went like boom up there to the ceiling. Okay, and then I realized
you pulled the gun out of the drawer, and the gun went off and up. How did it go up? You didn't point it in the air?
No, I didn't point it. It went with the flow when I put the finger in the trigger. Okay, and then he go with, and then he hit the wall and the upper part of this wall. Okay, now I went to my bedroom, you know, to watch the game. Okay, and then I'm trying to get out the cartridge of the gun, and then for some reason I press the trigger again, and that hits the ceiling, and I realized that there was a bullet right there in the cavity of the barrel, thank you, of the gun. So that's why I got 2 shots in there, you know. And the second shot, my wife was not there at all. She was in the bedroom when the first shot, you know, was in the wall.
Well, the part of the report states that you were intoxicated at the time of this offense. Were you intoxicated?
I was not whatsoever. I was sleeping when my wife came home.
I have to be honest with you, Mr. Diaz.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time following your logic in this, in the way you handle the weapon. A person who's been trained to handle weapons. Maybe I could see it going off one time, maybe maybe. Second time, I can't understand that. So I just want you to know that right now, I'm having a little problem with your story in this. All right. And I hope you can understand that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me at this moment that that's how the gun would go off.
Yeah,
I'm also a gun owner and
Yes.
understand both weapons, revolver and semi-automatic weapons. Know there's a safety involved, and know that any gun owner who gets a license knows that there should be a safety on the gun when you're not handling the weapon. There should be a safety on. And if there are children in the house, it should be locked up.
Correct.
So I don't sense there was children, but typically a person who's trained would have the safety on the weapon.
Yeah.
So I'm having a difficult time with your version of the story. I would understand it if maybe you were intoxicated and something happened at that point. But so let's go from there. I just wanted to get a sense of that particular piece of it.
Yes.
There have been other issues in this relationship, correct?
There have been other issues, yes.
So tell me about that event. What happened? What was the actual event from your perspective?
I mean, on the one that we're talking about with the gun?
Yes, the one we're talking about now.
Well, like I said, I was washing my car when I came from the street, from outside. And then I went back to my bedroom. I put the gun in the night table, okay? And I went to sleep.
You had the two guns that they fired off. What happened after the gunshots?
Well, after the gunshot, I took the gun and put it in the safe. Okay, and then it was there all the time in the safe until.
What happened with going on with you and your wife at that point?
Well, what happened was that she was at work. I'm retired, so she was at work, and most of the time, I cook for her. When she comes home, there's food for her. After a long day work, normally, and since she found me that I was sleeping, and there was no food in the house for her to eat, she got upset, and then she started fighting about the whole thing. And I explained that I was sorry, that I was just watching TV and I get sleep. That's the reality. I cannot change that. That is exactly what happened in here. Now, she might say that I was intoxicated. I was not intoxicated because I did not drink anything that day, not at all. Prior, in other problems that I might have with her, she said, that I was drinking too much. I can give that to her, but that specific day and night, I'm sorry, I did not drink anything. I just came, like I said, from the chores that we're doing in town. I went to the night table. I put the gun in there. And then when she came, the whole thing started. And then when I pulled the gun for the drawer, it shut accidentally. And I said to you again, this is the first time I shoot this gun. The safety was not probably on. I don't realize. Now, if you're a gun owner, you know that if you shoot a revolver, okay, after they shoot the revolver, there's no in the chamber, there's no another bullet. Now, in this case, it was another bullet in the chamber of the gun that I was not aware of. Okay, and when I'm just trying to manipulate the gun to take the cartridge out and put it in the.
Thank you for sharing that. We've already shared the story about the gun. I kind of get your story about the gun, and revolvers do spin for the next bullet to come up. So they do. You do have a bullet that comes up when you use a revolver. Anyway, why would your wife share such a dramatic story then?
Well, I'm not quite sure what she said, of me, but I guess that she was upset.
Mr. Diaz, that's a pretty dramatic story that you put her on her knees and pointed the gun to her head. That's a dramatic story, Mr. Diaz.
I understand, Mr. Rodriguez.
Why would she make up such a story like that? You were married for 42 years.
47.
Why would she say that kind of a story? I don't understand.
Mr. Rodriguez, I am, as astonished as you. I do not know why she go and said that. I guess that she want me out of the house for some reason or whatever reason. But I can tell you, that I never aimed this gun to her head, and she was kneeling. Never, never, never. never.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the program that you've taken. Tell me a little bit about what you took domestic violence.
Correct.
Tell me what you learned, because you said you talked about triggers. So what did you learn about your triggers?
Well, I learned about my triggers that, for example, drinking could be a real bad trigger, to go into a situation with your wife or your significant other. Also, I have the arguing with the person, in this case with my wife. That's another trigger that I understand, very well, because if you argue, that's the problem. And also the disrespect for my partner, that's another trigger that I found, and I know, these things before, but with my clear mind, I wouldn't walk away, from this situation, and basically I wouldn't be in this situation right now.
So help me understand, 42 years. How did this
47.
how did it get to this point? How did the relationship get to this point?
Like I said, we had before some, scuffles between us, regarding drinking, for example. That's one of the regarding that arguing. But to tell you the truth, I'm as astonished as you are. Why did she put sort of dramatic story there? I understand that she would be scared when I shoot the gun, okay, accidentally, and in the second room, accidentally as well. But never, 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 I went over, 47 years of marriage, not 42, 47. And I can tell you very, very truthfully that I did not aim this gun to her. To whatever she said in there, I never did that. Never.
What other programming have you taken, Mr. Diaz, besides domestic violence? You took anger management?
No, I haven't taken anger management here, no.
So you just completed your domestic violence, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. What's your plan upon your release? Do you still have a medical license?
No. I used to work for the pharmaceutical industry.
I
So I
read that.
I didn't need a license, to do that, to do my job. Well, and I retired from Merck, the pharmaceutical company. Yeah. So you asked me what I'm going to do after parole, after the
Correct.
if I
Correct.
release.
What's your plan on
Okay.
release?
Well, after 47 years, with my wife, and you can see that there is a copious amount of timing. I mean, 47 years and then another one, when we were just dating. Right now, I am divorced because she filed paper for divorce. Okay, and when I leave, this place, I have to remake my life. Definitely, start again all over. I will enjoy my retirement, and I'm going to enjoy my 13-year-old granddaughter. I'm getting my life straight, and that's about it.
You're going to be living on your own?
I will be living my own, yes. Occasionally, my son will be with me like 6 days out of the month, because he's a physician also, and then he goes from town to town, sometimes from one state to another state. Okay, and when he is in Connecticut, he's going to be visiting me regularly.
And do you have other family?
I have another son who's an engineer that works in New York City as well.
How's your relationship with him?
Excellent. Both of them are excellent kids. I have very good relations, and they support me. All 100%. In being corrected and being doing the good thing. And I can say, the good thing that's happening here in the correctional institution, which I have been all the time in compliance with all the mandates of the institution.
I said you have. You don't have any tickets since you've been there. You
Not
cooperated and done what you need to do while you're in there. What, do you think you have a problem with drinking?
I think that I have, well, because of you work in this line, the drinking has, several steps. Alcohol abuse, alcoholic, alcohol dependence, stuff like that, Yeah. I don't drink any more than any other people when we're in a gathering or a party. Okay. What's that? Maybe 2 or 3 glasses of wine for the whole activity. Occasionally, with dinner, if we go outside with my wife, which we do a lot, I may have another 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Okay, I don't drink any hard liquor. Occasionally, a beer, maybe, but I am not. If you ask me if I have a problem with that, I would say I might be borderline probably, but I do not abuse alcohol. I don't know. I don't have any dependence on alcohol, and much less I am an alcoholic. All right, but by no means. I've been treated by psychiatry for more than 20 years, starting in 1999 for bipolar depression.
You don't have to get into too many medical things because we're public, video, and
Yes.
everybody's watching. So I just want you to be careful about what you say in terms of your medical conditions.
I apologize. So basically, what happened is that by going into my medical things, there had never been a record in there that I've been abusing alcohol or I'm an alcoholic or a dependence on alcohol. Not at all.
So did you think that you could have used? Do you think you could have used an addiction program while you were in there? Even though it wasn't on your OAP? Is that something you think you could have done? Would that have been helpful?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Do you think attending an addiction service program would have been helpful to you?
I don't think so, to tell you the truth. I don't think so, because, if I am accepting, for example, that I have a problem with alcohol, okay, that would be probably a good thing to do. I am not opposed to that. But being in a category that I drink like anybody else, in the party, and I never get, that drunk or get belligerent, I don't think, that will be, a step. However, if by any chance the court says that I had to go into an addiction program, well, that's different. I have to abide by my mandates of the court.
Okay. And have you been in contact with your wife at all since you've been in prison?
Not at all.
Madam Chair, at this moment, I don't think I have any additional questions for the moment. I'd like to reserve any I might have later on as things come up. Mr. Diaz, thank you so much for answering my questions this morning. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So my colleague, Mr. Rodriguez, he asked probably almost all the questions that we would need to be asked today. I did want to confirm a couple of things with you. And as my colleague said, we are, this hearing is public, so we do want to protect your privacy. But I wanted to ask you in kind of vague terms, how you feel your mental health is. Do you feel like right now, your mental health is good?
Yeah, my mental health has been steady and, over the time. Like I said before, I take my medications and I never had a problem with anybody. And ever since I got my medications on board on me, very few episodes of depression,
Okay.
which is what I've been treated for, bipolar 2 with depression.
Okay.
But never the other entail of the bipolar 2, which is, the euphoria and all that kind of things.
So, Mr. Diaz, you're well aware of your mental health needs. How do you think alcohol affects that?
I think that alcohol, if you take it, for example, in addition to the drugs that you're taking, would be a detriment, for my health. And basically, maybe there are studies that say so, that the alcohol and the depression and the depressive medication do not work well. So it's a mixology that I respect a lot, and I don't drink, to the excess of having a problem by drinking and taking my medications.
So you completed the domestic violence program just recently, last month?
Correct.
Okay. Now you've taken a domestic violence program in the community, correct?
No, not the
No,
community.
not 2019?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, that wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't. You're right. I can.
And we only know that because you provided that information
Yeah.
at some point in the pre-sentence investigation, if I'm correct in my recollection. So can you tell me, can you recall back in 2019 when you took that program, some of the skills you learned compared to what you've now discovered in the program recently completed?
Yeah. Well, I think it was as long as I remember, it was a program that was it was long. It was not a short program. It was a long program, and most of the time what we did was basically listen to stories of people that were having problems in the community because the X and X or whatever. During that program, most of the people that were there were people with drugs problems. Okay, there were no, I mean, one or two maybe with substance abuse other than drugs. I wasn't aware, that, but it was a program that people talk a lot, and you learn about the situations and how they get out of this situation by getting into different programs. But it wasn't specific for one person. I said, okay, I'm working with you. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. No,
Right.
It was just generalized.
Right. I do understand that it's a group setting. So, and it's more of an educational
Correct.
program. So I wanted to hear whether or not there were any tools or skills that you look now and you think I should have used those tools and skills that I learned in 2019, and perhaps this situation with my wife would not have escalated.
Yeah, well, definitely, I say yes, because they give you some ideas, and you listen to ideas of other people. And if I have the skill, just to not be, for example, I'm in anger with my wife, that would be, for example, something that they will discuss. So, had I know at this point in time, if I was, for example, like not using using the anger situation, if I can use that phrase, what I'm trying to say is I would have been better, because if I control my anger during any episode, and I had the anger in check during that day with my wife or that night, the outcome would have been completely different.
Okay. And there is a protective order in place with the victim, and it's in place until 2083. Do you know what the restrictions are for you with respect to the protective order?
Yes, I do.
What are they?
Do not get to the residence. Do not get. I think it's about 300 yards or something like that. I can be sure the number, and don't contact the person in any way, media, telephone, letters, or nothing. So that's for that period of time.
Okay.
I must tell you also that as of today, she sold the house and she left, and I don't know where her whereabouts are. So, like, we divorced, of course, last year, in 2023.
And you've been incarcerated now for a couple of years. Prior to taking the domestic violence program, how are you occupying your time at the facility?
Well, right here, to tell you that I kept a low profile. I talked to other inmates. We just talk, the everyday, situation and conversation that we have in here. I go to my bed and I listen to music. I read books in my spare time, and then I spend with them, my time having dinner or lunch or whatever. And that's basically what my day looks like.
All right, thank you, Mr. Diaz.
You're very welcome.
Panel member Sasso?
I have no questions.
No questions? Okay. So, Mr. Diaz, we are done with the question portion of the hearing. We will
Okay.
now hear from the Office of Victim Services. You can listen, but please do not interrupt.
Great.
Okay. Ms. De Jesus?
Good morning, board members. I do have a statement, and it reads as follows. I am here today to provide a victim statement and a plea regarding my well-being, my safety, but most importantly, my life. On May 22nd, 2022, my husband of 45 years, Wilfredo E DOC, pointed a loaded gun to my face. It wasn't the first time. Within the first year of our marriage, I had my first encounter with domestic violence when I was a young bride. I found myself staring down the barrel of a gun. As many victims of domestic violence, I did not seek help. For the next 45 years, after various police visits to the home, various restraining orders, and a broken nose, the violence has continued to escalate to a terrifying level. As I was forced on my knees with a gun in my face, my husband said that he was going to execute me, stating that the newspaper headlines the following day was going to say that, quote, a doctor was murdered last night, end quote. He even said that he didn't love his sons, and that even if they take his gun away from him that night, take his gun away from him, that there was a price for my head. The threat was credible, and I felt an immediate sense of fear for my life. I have no doubt that he was capable of killing me. The only thing I could do was diffuse the situation as much as possible. Let him feel he was in control and hope that the next time he pulls the trigger, after he has already fired 2 shots, the gun was not pointed at my head. Since that day, I have been living in constant fear for my safety. This has had a significant impact on my health and has caused me to suffer from severe anxiety and PTSD. As I reflect on the recent tragedies that happened in our community, I can't help but be terrified to end up another statistic, a victim of domestic violence. Tracy Marie Jones doesn't have a chance to speak her truth anymore. Neither does Corinne Davis Smith and countless others, but I do. The violent act made against me has also affected my ability to function properly in my personal and professional life. For the first time in my life, I have had to see a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist on a regular basis. The violent act of that night has also caused me financial losses. I had to take a medical leave from my lucrative medical practice, and as of today, I'm not sure if I will be able to return to work ever again. I also had to incur additional expenses to ensure my safety. The defendant never apologized or has taken responsibility for his actions until potentially now that he has no other choice but to beg for mercy. Deep inside, he blames me, the victim, for the dissolution of our family because I filed for divorce after he almost killed me. He has always blamed me for his acts of violence. He probably blames me for being in prison, quote, because I reported what he did to the police, end quote. He tried to cover up his actions on the morning of May 27th, 2022, by throwing part of the gun at the highway, as well as his remaining bullets. He tried to hide the clothing he was wearing the night before so that no one would find it. I urge the court to take this matter seriously and to hold the defendant accountable for his actions. I urge the court to please keep in consideration that in 2019, after another incident of domestic violence, my husband went through a program designed to rehabilitate. Less than 4 years later, 2 shots fired and the smell of gun smoke, I am here again as a victim, pleading for my safety. I request the maximum sentence as I now live a life looking over my shoulder in fear. No one should have to live in fear for their lives, and I hope that justice will be served in this case. I also request respectfully, very respectfully, the following from the court upon his release from prison. 1, the judge in Danbury ordered an ankle bracelet for 5 years when he is released. An order that includes specifically my house, office in Connecticut, and my vacation home in Isla Verde, Puerto Rico. 3, treatment for domestic violence, anger control, bipolar disorder, and alcohol abuse. 4, constant supervision in relation to his compliance with his medications, psychotherapy, and alcohol abuse. 5, Connecticut it's a very big state, and I prefer for him not to live in any of the towns with proximity to my home and office. 6, I would like to be notified of any travel outside of the state of Connecticut, especially if he's traveling to Puerto Rico, so I can protect myself. 7, he should not be allowed to purchase or carry a gun in the USA, including Puerto Rico. Thank you for allowing me to provide this statement. Sincerely, Yvette E. Diaz, MD, FACP. That's all I have, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Jesus. So we appreciate very much the victim providing that very great statement in terms of her perspective on her relationship with the defendant and how her life has been since. Just for clarification, the board has no jurisdiction in terms of ordering some of the conditions that she has requested in that letter. And if she is listening, I would suggest that she speak with either the probation officer down the road or go to the court for further conditions that she feels are in her best interest for safety. So, Mr. Diaz, we will now deliberate about your case and give you our decision.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a difficult case. I'm still struggling with the whole accidental shooting situation from someone who should have been trained to handle a weapon and automatically, I believe, knows that a bullet goes into the chamber in a semi-automatic weapon automatically. And that the gun, maybe gun going once, maybe the gun going off twice. I don't know. He said he was sorry early on. I'm not sure exactly what he's sorry for because he doesn't believe that he denies the offense at this particular point. I appreciate the victim coming on and sharing the trauma that still is involved in their lives at this point and what it's caused in terms of this disruption of their lives. Mr. Diaz has an EOS of August of this year. He does have probation to follow. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm struggling with it. I think he could use the initial supervision before going out. That maybe would get him some more of his. Make sure he does his medication. Make sure he goes to his mental health services that he needs, and then he would be transferred over to probation for 5 years. So that's not. Even though he might be released, he's still going to be under pretty strict supervision for the next 6 years, maybe or so. There is a protective order already outstanding. She probably could go back and maybe add some conditions to that protective order that would be kind of make her feel safe. I have not read anything where there's been any threats made from Mr. Diaz at this point to her. Such a short time between now and his EOS. I think I'd like to see him get supervision. I think I'd like to hear from my colleagues at this particular point right now. I would be willing to grant him his discretionary parole today because he would still have to take his DV in the community again. So he'd be involved with that as well. So he'd have some services that would be put in place for him on his release. But I am struggling with the story at this point. I mean, I would like to have seen him take responsibility for the fact this happened. And it would seem to me that the incident of 2 accidental shootings, firings of the weapon, just don't seem reasonable to me.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So I in agreement with much of what you said, that Mr. Diaz, the offense itself is incredibly concerning, and Mr. Diaz seems to take responsibility for very little of it. There seems to be a pattern of behaviors for which Mr. Diaz previously participated in a domestic violence program. In review of the pre-sentence report, there's also additional verifications of prior incidents. Mr. Diaz has no criminal history. He does score low for risk to recidivate. He has taken the domestic violence program, which is what we would want him to do. I guess my struggle is with that Mr. Diaz does not appear to have insight into the offense and his role in it. And that, I think, also goes to his version that many of the incidents reported did not occur. There is several indications throughout the documents that we read that there is an issue with alcohol, whether Mr. Diaz chooses to acknowledge it or not. And I was troubled when I was asking Mr. Diaz about the effects of alcohol with his mental health needs, and he, as a physician, also didn't seem to understand the adverse effect of that as well. I appreciate that Mr. Diaz has no disciplinary reports. There is a protective order in place. However, at this point, I don't see Mr. Diaz as being suitable for parole because I'm not seeing that evidence of offender change that I would appreciate seeing in a situation such as this. There doesn't seem to be the underlying factors in here do appear to be not addressed or not recognized by Mr. Diaz in a way in which I think makes him suitable for parole today. So I at this point, I'm not finding Mr. Diaz suitable for discretionary parole. Ms. Applesassen?
So I think in terms of what you were discussing, one of my concerns is the interplay between what happened that night in terms of the mental health piece, the interplay with possible substances, and did that actually create a scenario where he doesn't exactly recall what happened as opposed to not taking responsibility. I think medication compliance and supervision are going to be key moving forward. In terms of the victim, if there is a situation where he is unaware of her whereabouts, I think that that's a matter in terms of they share a grandchild, there's family issues, there's still going to need to be work done in order to navigate what that release plan looks like in terms of contact with family members. And I think that the ability to have significant supervision is very important in terms of medication compliance and whatever that release plan looks like. In terms of offender change, I guess I would be interested to hear from my colleagues who have more experience than I do what else could be done between now and August to effectuate better offender change and understanding.
Good voice.
Right, and unfortunately,
Fine. I'll just write it up.
yeah. So I think a couple of factors have been brought up by my colleagues for me. One is the release plan. There is, it is to reside with his son. His son has agreed that he would do that, provide housing and a residence for Mr. Diaz and provide support. And as colleagues Zappo Sasu brought up, there is going to be other things to navigate. I'm sure Mr. Diaz has thought of. In terms of offender change, I guess what concerns me most, and unfortunately, Mr. Diaz has not been put forward for addiction services, whether that's because of where he is at the current time, but he scores a 4 for his substance abuse.
Yeah.
He doesn't recognize the need for that. He doesn't recognize that he has an issue with alcohol, and not being a clinician, I'm not 100% sure what to do with that. But I do believe that in order for Mr. Diaz to have the best opportunity for success in the community and protection to the victim, that some addiction services would be beneficial. Now, I keep denying parole. There's 9 months roughly to end a sentence, 8-9 months, whether or not that can occur. But I also wonder, if there has been an opportunity for him to attend some sort of support meetings, whether it's of AA, whether on his tablet or within the facility. I'm not.
You think you're not bring him back 6 months and that would give him 3 months out on supervision?
I would not believe that. I think it's too short of amount of time. But I do appreciate you're wondering what would affect offender change.
I can see that. I agree. I believe he could have used this. Why I asked early on in my questioning with him about his addiction service, why he didn't consider taking that. But if he doesn't feel he has an alcohol problem, I don't even know how that would.
Yeah, and it is to his, defense. It's not on his OAP. So,
No,
but,
it's not.
and
Even with that high number.
yeah, and if Mr. Diaz recognized or thought he had some issues with alcohol, I'm sure he could have requested some type of services, but he's not in that place.
He's turning 70 next month. And at that point, knowing that there's an additional 5 years over his head, it would seem to me that there would be motivation to comply with medication and everything else in terms of the rollout of his potential discretionary parole.
So you're in favor of
I
that?
think, yeah.
Are you in favor as well?
That would be one of the stipulated, that'd be medication. Why?
Right. So for conditions, no alcohol. Mental health evaluation and treatment, community-based treatment for domestic violence,
Correct.
and no victim.
No contact.
No, it's fine.
Anything else?
That's available.
What is the difference between the two, the evaluation and the treatment? Why? Because I think the medication compliance is important.
Typically, we only order medication compliance when there's an issue of non-compliance.
So that does the
And it affects public safety.
Okay.
So in the matter of Wilfredo Diaz, 440371, there's a motion to grant parole on or after May 20th, 2025, with the following stipulations: no alcohol, mental health evaluation and treatment, community-based treatment for domestic violence, no contact with the victim, ID. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. So Mr. Diaz, you were voted to parole by majority decision. Do you understand the conditions that we've stipulated?
Excuse me. Can you say again when you started the sentence? Just what, it's just to start over again.
Yes. So you have been granted parole today,
Okay,
all right? And we have imposed a number of conditions for that parole. Did you hear the conditions that we imposed?
yes, I did, thank you.
And we have a date of May 20th, 2025 as your parole date.
Okay, so I'm not granted parole now. I granted parole, but it's in May.
Correct. All right, good luck to you.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, good day for everybody.
This concludes the hearing for Wilfredo Diaz, 440371. Mr. Diaz, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Mr. Diaz, I would
Yes, sir.
consider an addiction services kind of program when you are released. Getting involved in something that helps you with that.
Like I said before, I don't have any problem with that. You know, in terms of if it's mandated by the court or by you guys, I don't have any problem. See, but I have a question. Do I have to go into parole, like video hearing?
So all that, Mr. Diaz, all of that will be explained to you. Okay? Good luck to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome.
Okay. I mean, like, how? How can you grant a man who denies doing the crime that he is in prison for? How is that possible? You are literally giving a man a gift, encouraging his lies. It makes no sense. It's insane. The victim, I'll call her survivor because you know what? She left him. She divorced him. She reported him. And there are many after years and years and years of being in an abusive relationship, which she stated from the first days of her marriage, the abuse starting. And this was an amazing, really story. She's a doctor. She's someone who's successful, who's probably prominent in the community. And she had this skeleton in her closet, this secret, and she took the courage. Eventually she got out, and she gets up here and she leaves a mic drop, not her, but through the, and they reward her. The Hollywood ending to this is to say, sure, let the abuser out. The man who's not taking any accountability at all. Not for his drinking, not for his addiction, not for pointing the gun at her forehead. This is the message, parole board, that you want to send survivors of abuse who take the courage to stand up at the parole hearing? This is the message you want to give the public? Make it make sense. And there's no reason, there's no rationalizing as to why. They're saying, oh, well, we wanted to have supervision. His sentence was a 5-year sentence, suspended after 21 months, followed by 5 years probation. You are not giving him any additional supervision by releasing him early. He has that baked in. Why would you give him a gift? He hasn't earned it. He hasn't deserved it. He's done nothing. Even in the final, I'll take what programs you want me to take. I mean, Mr. Marabella would have had a field day with this guy. Are you kidding me? Not only that, but then the gun thing. Don't get me on the whole gun thing. You know, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I know all of you who are gun enthusiasts were thinking the same thing that was going on through my mind. But it's, first of all, you know what's funny about these criminals? They all have the same thing. They all buy the gun that shoots by itself. You know, you have to feel bad for them. They have the worst luck. That's what they all have in common. But then to have the parole board member, Mr. Rodriguez, starts saying, well, you should have had the safety on. You should have had the safety on. Did you have the safety on?" It's like, tell me you don't know anything about guns without telling me you don't know anything about guns. I don't know what percentage of concealed carry firearms have safeties. I know both of mine don't. They have cool, baked in safety features, but not an actual safety switch. You carry a bullet in the chamber, you pull the trigger, and it goes boom. The idea of having that manual safety switch, let's put it this way: every Glock by default, like they don't have, it's just not. It's hard to find one with the safety. You'd have to go out and look for it. And then he's talking about, I just don't know how much, with all your training, how you would have. And I did a quick Grok search to get a permit in Connecticut. I don't know how easy it is to get a concealed carry permit. In many states, they think it's illegal, but the course to get one, part of it's an 8-hour course. That's it. So I don't know why he kept bringing up training. And then also when he instructs him, he says, a firearm, you should have it unloaded and in your safe. And it's like, well, that's brilliant. Right? Right. So when the bad guy comes on the home invasion, wait there, bad guy. Let me go to my safe. I have to undo my safe. I have to go. Let me go. Well, you just stay there. Wait a minute for me to go get my firearm. Some people, and then just to think that you're in a position of power and you're sitting here talking about, the gun, I pulled it out, and he's like, yeah, well, I hear how that could have happened one time, but 2 times, I don't know. And then what's her name? What's her name? Sir Richard has it here in the spreadsheet. By the way, this hearing took place. I'm going through some of the older hearings. So this was before Lady Holly joined, right? And I do. It's over here. So Sir Richard always puts down the names of who it was. So let me just see right here. Sorry guys, I lost my focus. Here it is. So it was Palmieri, Rodriguez, and Mrs. Sasso. So Sasso says, well, maybe it was his intoxication that he didn't remember the situation, that he didn't remember that he put the gun to her face. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you really making the excuse for him, agreeing with his story that he didn't remember what happened? Not agreeing, but making up an excuse for why he's blatantly lying? And you can't have it both ways, because here he is saying, I wasn't drunk when it happened. I don't have a drinking problem. I don't take any drinking programs. And, I just didn't do it. She made it up. Then the victim comes on there and says exactly not only what happened that night, but the whole relationship of how it was abusive from day one. He does have a history where he's gone to court-ordered programs 2 years before he did this. So it's not even just like hearsay. It's in his record that he's been ordered by a judge to go to these programs 2 years before he did this. And then she basically because it makes no sense. You can't give him the excuse that he was too drunk to remember, but also release him on parole. A man who says he doesn't have a drinking problem. Like, you can't have it both ways, lady. I'll say that because it's just you disrespect the system. You disrespect the victims. You disrespect everything. And you're calling all a bunch of morons. We're not stupid. You know, in his arrest, which was only 5/27/2022, this parole hearing took place 1/8/2025. Think about how quickly that happened from arrest to parole hearing. He was sentenced June 28th, 2023. So from sentencing date to this parole hearing date was less than 2 years. I'm not good at math, but that seems about right. My computer keeps popping up. There's something wrong. I hope this, you guys can hear the sound. But they reward him. Now, I checked on it. You know, I checked his record before doing this hearing because this is 6 months later. He is still out, which doesn't, surprise me. I don't, he's not the kind of guy that I think would maybe reoffend like this, if he didn't have it in his record. But unless it had to do with her, maybe he'd come out for revenge. But it seems that she's very aware of her risks and it's, well, I think knows how to take care of herself now. I hope so. But anyways, there you have it. A broken system, in my opinion, and just that. I'll let you go.
I urge the court to please keep in consideration that in 2019, after another incident of domestic violence, my husband went through a program designed to rehabilitate. Less than 4 years later, 2 shots fired and the smell of gun smoke, I am here again as a victim, pleading for my safety